This is Time Signatures with Jim Irvin, a podcast and radio program presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan.
Driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
And now, here he is, your host, Jim Irvin.
Baby, I'm home.
Hello there. Thank you, Parker, and welcome to Time Signatures. I'm your host, Jim Irvin, and I'm pleased and honored to welcome one of my favorite blues musicians to the program today. Mentored by the iconic Albert Collins and UK legend John Mayall, this man is known for his endlessly inventive guitar work and passionate, hard-hitting vocals. His latest and sixth album with the Alligator label, Writing on the Wall, looks to be some of his best work yet. He is currently on tour promoting the release and is actually going to be appearing, among other places, at the legendary Token Lounge in Westland this Friday, April the 26th. Coco, I want to thank you so much for your time. Welcome to Time Signatures.
I appreciate it, Irv. It was very great to talk to you today.
Well, it's a pleasure to talk to you, sir. We have a lot of ground to cover, so I want to dive right in. And since I'm one of those dessert first kind of guys, I just want to talk about your new album, Writing on the Wall. You call this one of your best records you've ever made, which is a pretty strong statement. But I have to tell you, I think I have to agree, man. I love me some of that hard-hitting blues, and this album really delivers that. What's your secret on this one?
I think the secret to this album's success really boils down to taking my road band at this time and taking the time to work it out with them. And they know me best because they play with me all the time.
Sure.
So it was just a no-brainer to go to the project and said, we're going to bring in the road band and have them cut, and it worked out wonderfully. It was just, like I said, we read each other really well from all the hours of
Yes.
playing live shows. So it really helped out in the studio situation.
Absolutely. I've got to ask you, has music always been a part of your life? I mean, what are your earliest memories of music?
Oh gosh. Yeah, I think it's always been the attraction for me. Some kids it was baseball, it was football or whatever, and sports and things. And for me, it was music. It stood out. I mean, the first concert I think I ever saw was my mother took me downtown LA to see a Mexican singer, Miguel Aceves Mejia.
Okay.
They call him the man from Mexico. He was the first, I think, Latino from Mexico that got signed to RCA Records. That's the first thing I remember is seeing him live. I couldn't understand anything because I don't speak Spanish very well, but it was more the emotion in his voice and the strength of his voice. I mean, it was unforgettable, and which gave me that excitement in my chest, just that pounding a little bit. It hit me in an emotional way, and that pretty much laid the groundwork for me to go and pursue more music and more music and more music as I went.
Sure. Well, talk about that 1969 baptism into the blues at that first concert. I've got to hear this story firsthand, man.
Oh, it's absolutely true. I was like any kid at that time. Definitely involved, listen to the Beatles, listen to all kinds of psychedelic music and everything, and also getting into Creedence Clearwater and bands like Iron Butterfly and all those things. And,
right.
You used to go see them up on Sunset Strip. It was great. You could go as a kid. You could go to these places and they'd stamp your big old stamp on your hand so you couldn't drink liquor, but you could go to these shows.
Right.
And for $2 or $2.50, I remember going to the Whiskey A Go Go and seeing bands. But I happened to go to I think it was a Pan Pacific Auditorium. I went to see Iron Butterfly and Creedence Clearwater, and in between the two bands, there was this man called Albert King. I didn't know who he was. I mean, I'd been listening to Cream and everything, and they were doing Born Under a Bad Sign and all those things. I thought it was their songs. I didn't know. And he completely changed my whole perspective on playing music. Just listening to his set, no offense to Creedence Clearwater and Iron Butterfly, but I completely he'd done it for me. He changed everything and put me in a thought process where I didn't even stick around to listen to those guys. I just, yeah, what he did was just so emotionally based. It was just from the heart, and yeah, it was definitely the life changing situation where I figured it out, where Cream got it, where Mike Bloomfield and Electric Flag, people
Right,
like that,
right.
which I was attracted to, more intensely, and said, okay, now I get it. All right, and as I was a kid, in those days you could go anywhere. I think I walked around the side of the stage, and Albert came off the stage. And I remember I was reeking in my little patchouli oil and long hair and beads. And I looked up at him and I said, someday I'm going to play your music. He looked at me and said, all right, son, all right, you do that. He gave me a hug on the shoulder and went off to his dressing room.
Oh man.
And my life was never the same after that, to the good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's and how many people are going to get to meet the guy that changed their life, like immediately. So it's kind of a cool
Yeah,
experience. But
an incredible experience.
yeah. In the mid 1970s, a chance meeting with Albert Collins changed your life, of course, again, didn't it?
Oh yeah, it was even more intense.
Yeah, I got to have the details, man.
Well, meeting Albert, there was a club that we used to play in Culver City. Uh, it's called T-Nix, and it was a fun place. Which was amazing by it. Usually the weekends were dominated by Latinos. The owner was a Greek guy named Big Nick, and George Nichols. These guys are just Greek guys who were so much fun. They were crazy. But apparently Albert went in there one night, and the boss was crazy about him, and asked him if he would do a matinee on a Sunday, and and that Sunday I went to pick up all my drums, and apparently what had happened, he got so excited, he says, Albert, use whatever you want up there, you know. And so I was pretty pissed off that my drums had been tampered with, and me and the owner got in a shouting match and stuff, and Albert was there. They had just done sound check or something, and he was just so apologetic and said, I can get another drum set for my drummer, and I said, no, you already got it set up. I said, I'm not going to cause you grief, and I had never heard Albert at that point,
Sure.
and I'd met him previous to that through Buddy Miles, and at the whiskey, and but he was such a kind guy. I just let him use my kit, and I figured I'd wait around the show and I can take my drums home. Well, Albert tore it up so unbelievably. He just took me to another place that was just unbelievable, and I was in shock. And he asked me to sit in and everything, and
Wow.
I wasn't a real blues drummer, at that time. And I did, and he said, "Let me have your number, man. Let me have your number." And I gave him my number, and never thought anything about it, much about it. And then next thing I know, several months later, I get my mom says there's a phone call from an Albert.
Hmm.
I say, Albert, who's Albert? I said, well, let me see who it is. And I was with my buddies in the backyard trying to figure
Sure.
out what we were going to do for the day, go to the beach or whatever.
Right.
And it was Albert Collins, and desperate for a drummer. His drummer had to leave, and he says, I really need somebody. I'd like to give you a chance to come play with me, And
Wow.
I said, well, Albert, I don't know how to play your music that well. I'm not well versed in it. And he said, no, you do fine. You sounded good over there, man. He said, all the time, basically he was really desperate. He couldn't find anybody. And so I agreed to go. And my first road trip, and I figured we'd have a couple days of rehearsal and go. And he said, no, I'll be by to pick you up in about 3 hours.
Man.
And yeah, we loaded up my rap. I didn't even have cases for my drums.
Wow.
because I just played locally. I just carried my
Sure.
drums in the back seat,
Yeah.
wrapped them in a blanket or whatever. And that's what we did. We stuck them in the trailer, wrapped everything in blankets, and took off for the Northwest and cold turkey.
Man.
Did the shows. That was incredible. To play somebody's music, you're playing Albert Collins music, and it just takes you to another level. You're not playing top
Right.
40 stuff. It's a whole different bag. And there may have been maybe 700 people, maybe 600 people. To me, it looked like Woodstock. You know, we played the University of Eugene,
Okay.
Oregon, and it was the first gig, and it was what an incredible experience. And I stuck around with Albert about 4 or 5 years,
Okay.
and we became very very close. He was like a father to me. You know,
Now, I was
and
reading that you were hired as a drummer, but he decided to mentor you on the guitar as well, teaching you some of his hot, icy hot style of guitar playing. How did that come
I
about?
think I think it was more Albert just spending time with me. He wasn't really trying to change me to a guitar player. I had already previously started messing around with guitar
Okay.
because I loved the Blues Breakers, and Eric Clapton was like that Beano album is still to me to this day is just a must have, a must listen, and a repeat must listen when you start forgetting how things go,
Right.
because it comes from such an emotional place. And yeah, with Albert, it was just being at his side, hanging around, days off in a hotel room. I'd play his other Telecaster, and we'd sit there. And there's times when I'd be playing drums on the edge of the bed, and sound checks. Albert would he'd say, "I'm gonna play a groove, man. You just follow along with me, and we'll see where we go." And he would do stuff like that. And God, he actually taught me how to shuffle,
Nice.
how to mambo. He taught me all that, how to play slow blueses in the right. Keep your eye on him, and everything is fine. And you start becoming it becomes second nature. You know when he's going to stop. You know when he's going to bring it down. He doesn't have to tell you anything. You know it.
Yeah.
You know. So
Wow.
that's the kind of lessons I got from Albert, and of course, being around him and watching him play and stuff, did definite influence to me
Oh,
to this
yeah.
day. Always will be. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, following that stint with Collins, just a couple of short years later, you took a regular job and yet another chance meeting. I got to get the details on that one too.
Yeah, I got out of the business. As much as I loved Albert, and as much as the situation, my time with Albert, he was without a record label, and just running up and down the coast up to the Northwest. We worked a lot in the Northwest in Washington State and Oregon. We'd go up there for a month and a half, just working between those two states. And but the money wasn't great, but it didn't matter. I was a kid. I didn't care about the money. But after a while, some bills piled up, and I had to
Right.
take care of that. So I figured that was it for me. When Top 40, where it was at when I quit playing with Albert, we're talking about Tower of Power, people like that, and I just was not technically equipped to play that kind of music. I self-taught musician, so I didn't have any kind of way of getting a hold of what David Garibaldi was doing. I had no chance. In fact, I love it when I met David quite a long time ago. I said, I just want to thank you for single-handedly kicking me out of the drumming business. Yeah, but what is hip and all that stuff, and funkifies and all that stuff. I just couldn't do it justice. So I quit the business and got day jobs, and pretty much did that. I was a bartender for quite a while, and I used to go to jam sessions. I'd go to it, and it was fun. I had money. I bought an amplifier and a guitar, and go to jam sessions. And just have a good time. I didn't have to worry about getting paid or who's going to rip me off or whatever. I just had a ball. And John Mayall happened to see me at a jam session, and got my phone number from some people and called me up, and It was really weird. I didn't believe him. I thought it was just some of my English friends having a go at me, you know. And yeah, because where I bartended, it was the Cat and Fiddle Pub up in Hollywood, up in
Okay,
actually Laurel Canyon, and
sure.
everybody used to go in there because the owner was part of the band Ashton Gardner and Dyke. It was Kim Gardner,
Okay.
and yeah, I mean, Charlie Watts, Tom Jones, you know, Jeff Beck,
Wow.
all these people would be coming in. I'm pouring pints for them, you know.
Sure.
Uh, all these guys, Mitch Mitchell. That's where I met Mitch Mitchell. And Mitch ended up playing about a month's worth of gigs with me, local, just you know, bars and stuff. He said, "No, I'm like, this is fun. I just love to do this." You know, he said, "Just do me a favor." What? He says, "Please don't play any Hendrix songs." He's so busy. Everybody wanted to get him, wanted to play, you know, Purple Haze and everything like that.
Right.
He just wanted to play music, you know, not worry, not be stuck into that. But that's how I got the gig with John. He called me up and said he was reforming the Blues Breakers after Mick Taylor had left,
Well,
and I got the job. So
well, this is Time Signatures. My name is Jim Irvin. I am your host, and along with me today is Coco Montoya, and we are having some fun talking about the good old days early on in his career. Um, I gotta shift forward just a tiny bit here. When you got hired
sure.
by Mail to come in, you had to fill some really big shoes with him, didn't you? With the people
Well,
that had played?
yeah, yeah, it didn't really dawn on me. You know, the only thing I was just totally, you know, just so excited about was here's one of my heroes
Right.
that had Mick Taylor, Peter Green, you know, Clapton, and many others.
Yeah, just a few of the guys.
Uh, those top three. I mean, I was the kid, you know, I must have wore out about 5 or 6 of those albums trying to play that stuff,
Wow.
and just I'd listen to it, you know, and just kidding with a needle. You just had to keep moving it back, trying to get one of Eric Clapton's guitar licks. In the meantime, you're screwing up the album, you know.
Right.
But um, I was just over the top, you know, over the moon with this thing, you know. I just couldn't believe it, you know, and then it started to creep in because we had also had another guitar player. We had the late Cal David. He played for about just under a year, so there was two of us, and the first tour was just like, okay, how's this thing going to work out? And then it dawned on me. I said, how am I going to play Have You Heard Tonight, or you know, any of those things like that, or you know, Little Girl or something? And how am I going to be matched up against Eric Clapton, or against Peter Green or Mick
Yeah.
Taylor, another of
Yeah.
my idols? And yeah, that's where the difficulty came, trying to live up to that, or making myself live up to that.
Sure.
And you know, and then you got Cal David on the other side of the stage, who's a monster guitar player as well. So there was a lot of pressure that came down the pike, you know. But and then after Cal left, Walter Trout came into the band.
Oh man.
So yeah, yeah, oh man, yeah, sweetest guy in the world. But I mean, he'll tear your head off when you get on stage with him. He's incredible. He still is to this day.
Yeah.
I think John saw me struggling, and he pulled me aside and brought me on the carpet and said, "Hey, look, you know, I hired you to be the guy I saw playing in that club. You know, that's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for you to be Eric or anybody else." He goes, "You got to stop trying to be him. You're not Eric Clapton." He goes, "You can't be. Nobody else can be either.
Right.
Be you." And he was right. The first law of blues, especially, is interpretation. Anytime you play a song with one of your heroes, BB King, whatever, you know, Hound Dog Taylor, whatever you do, to do it exactly like them is a waste of time. You know, you need to take the song and make it yours. And that's the first rule, I think, is I say that to young players a lot. I go, you know, that sounds great that you sound just like T-Bone Walker.
Right. Right.
Now you got to try and make it sound like you,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
Everybody's got T-Bone Walker. You can go get it. You can get a box set of T-Bone Walker, and you got T-Bone Walker in in your living room all night and night. He's alive through those records, you know.
Right.
But when you start to play the magic and the thing that's going to really make it for you is to be able to say, well, that's what I sound like. That's how I interpret that song, you know.
Yeah,
And I think
absolutely.
that was an important lesson, you know.
Well, Coco, playing with these incredible musicians like you did, that must have been some really heady times for you, especially given, that you're a young guy and you're playing with these, legendary musicians. Did you ever get a chance to record with either of them?
Well, I did record with Albert and John, of course. I did several albums with him.
Okay.
I did record on Albert's last thing. And it was an album we did down in Memphis. I was asked to come down and play, and yeah, I just basically played rhythm parts. You know, just tried to be a part of the process. Uh, you know, like I said, my time with Albert, he didn't have a record deal, so we didn't really worry about recording or anything. But we did a lot of live work, a lot of stuff like that. And then even when I was with Mayall, I'd go on the road with John. I'd come back, I'd wash my clothes, and I'd find out where Albert is. I'd fly out there. I had an amplifier on his bus,
Wow.
and I just go in the background and just play, just to be with Pops, just to be with him.
Sure, sure.
You know, hang out. It's like hanging out with my dad. You know, and just play and just throw me a solo here and there. But basically, I just wanted to sit there and enjoy and absorb the soul of the band. You know,
Right.
so yeah, that was ongoing till when he got very ill and passed away.
Yeah. Once again, Coco, you're slated to be at the legendary Token Lounge in Westland this Friday evening. Doors at 7, show kicks off at 7:30. Now, if you need tickets, I'm going to put the website in the comments below the video with a link, and they start at only $25. From the looks of it, there are a few premium seats left, but you better act right now. It's tokenlounge.com, and you can order and pay for your tickets directly online. And from what I understand, he's also got vinyl. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna add
yeah,
your
we'll do
album
it.
to my collection. But
I love it.
Coco, where can your fans go and learn more about you? Maybe pick up some merchandise, or even book you if they want to have you play at their venue.
Well, you could just contact Alligator Records. They have all the information and everything else that you would need. They would then definitely have all that. And Concerted Efforts is my agency. John Bonsamino is my manager. But yeah, I'm easy to get a hold of as far as that's concerned about work. And don't forget, by the way, on this show coming up, I'm looking forward to it because I get to see my friend Jim McCarty.
Yes.
Fantastic, wonderful guitar player from Cactus and Mitch Ryder, all that. I
Right.
mean, he's a great guy and a great player, and it's just going to be a real good time hanging out with him.
Well, Coco, my heartfelt thanks again for taking time to talk with me today, and also for sharing your incredible stories with us. If you ever want to come back, you know that you're more than welcome. Absolutely. And I want to thank you, the listener and the viewer, the supporter and the fan, because without you, none of this would be possible. And you have my sincere thanks. And by the way,
Well, I
make
thank you too.
yeah, absolutely. And we would love to have you back anytime. Um, for those that are looking for us on YouTube, make sure you click the subscribe and the notify buttons below so you don't miss an episode. Jim Irvin reminding you that keeping the blues alive is everyone's responsibility, but preserving the history of the blues one story at a time, that's my mission. Until next time, so long.
This has been Time Signatures with Jim Irvin, presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan. For more information on cabs, visit capitalareablues.org. You can find this episode and past episodes at lccconnect.org. The Time Signatures theme song, Michigan Roads, is used by permission and was written by Root Doctor, featuring Freddie Cunningham.
You know I'm trying, baby, driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
Until next time, keep on keeping the blues alive.